Hello, it's Phillip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers speaking. I'm talking about a book from Oxford University Press. It's a book by Paul McGrath called Commercial Fraud in Civil Practice. This is the book here. It's quite heavy. It's running in just under 700 pages altogether. What it's got is the standard layout again with paragraph numbers at the sides, very useful table of contents at the beginning, and a detailed index right at the back. It's a very good book, and one that I think many civil practitioners will find extremely helpful. I've given it the title on the internet of The Fascination of Commercial Fraud Litigation. Here's a copy of the Flickr review, and it's on all the main internet sites. What I've said is this. I've said that when you're looking at this book, you consider what Essex Court Chambers barrister Paul McGrath's aim was. It's to tell us about how we deal with commercial fraud within our civil practice, and in this case he excels brilliantly with it. It's a good practitioner's work which does a sterling job in my view of enhancing and elucidating what is an exceedingly complex and tangled area of law. As McGrath points out, commercial fraud is big business, and it's only getting bigger, cleverer and more complex, obviously, as society develops. He adds ominously that fraudsters are typically ahead of the market when it comes to taking advantage of new technology, and whilst one can sometimes read that fraud levels are reducing in one area, this is only because the fraudsters have actually moved on to other areas, and the overall trend is in one direction only. I'm afraid it's upwards. Initially referring briefly to the days when restitution as the remedy was on everybody's minds, Paul McGrath affirms that fraud comes in all shapes and sizes, from frauds on a global scale such as Enron and WorldCom, to lesser but still distressing fraudulent activity such as phishing attacks or identity thefts, obviously about reputation and so on, particularly in the contemporary area of the credit crunch. Therefore, IT and ID fraud have spawned whole new legal specialisms very recently, and this is where the book comes in. The internet, he says, and banking conducted other than face-to-face have created unique opportunities for the fraudster, and therefore, following a complicated genesis, the book's been written with two fundamental aims in mind. The first one is to bring together a range of incredibly diverse material from a multiplicity of sources into one volume. This rather heavy volume, I grant you, but it's in one volume, which is good, for ease of access, and secondly, to consolidate in the one volume, quote, many of the areas, he says, in which a commercial fraud litigator might be asked to litigate. And obviously a lot of my colleagues are now involved in this area, which has grown a bit, and I actually did this when I was doing pupillage some 20 odd years ago. For a complex subject then, such as this, the book is a monument in my view of clarity in its coverage and logical examination of the diverse areas and issues relating to fraud. Focusing specifically on civil law, claims and remedies, it provides a detailed treatment of difficult topics such as unjust enrichment and conflict of laws, and it also offers practical guidance on important procedural elements such as injunctions and disclosure. There are 24 chapters altogether. They're split into 8 parts. There's a fraud overview, fraud at common law, receipt-based liability at common law, receipt-based liability in equity, statutory liability, multi-party liability, conflict of laws, and tracing, disclosure and injunctions. There are 2 excellent appendices at the back for precedents concerning both freezing injunctions and search orders, as we now call them. You know, remember them as Moravers and Anton Pillars. The author is to be congratulated, says Lord Millet, remarking about the book in the foreword. He says it provides a guide through this minefield, and he adds, the is not a context in which certitudes are possible. It's rather one of choices, and the best that can be done is to provide the practitioner with a series of informed choices. This the present book does, and he's quite right. As I say, that's why McGrath's book holds such fascination for those who are involved in this growing commercial fraud litigation. What McGrath has done is he's brought before practitioners the necessary materials and the arguments for this form of litigation. He's done so brilliantly, and he succeeds in his aim. So thank you very much indeed. Thanks, bye-bye.